Hey guys, so this time we're going to try a podcast. We're going to call this the Will and Cody Show. We usually do a lot of little segments, but this time we thought we'd actually try a podcast. Try to get it on maybe Spotify, iTunes, things like that. Don't hold us to that. We're going to try. It will be on YouTube though. And just kind of a longer format than our previously shorter form formats. But just kind of just chatting, having a conversation, a little more chill. And then we may try to have some interviews with some people in the future, answer your questions, obviously, just some stuff like that. So, Will, any thoughts?
I think this will be good. We'll still try to produce some content that's a little shorter. So if you're watching it on social media or something, you can get a little snippet of what we're talking about and still get the idea. But we also wanted to have kind of a platform we could dig into things a little bit more than maybe a video. Because we find we always think of stuff after we're finished recording that's like, oh, I didn't cover that, or I didn't talk about that. And so we wanted to have a place that we can just kind of have a longer discussion about these things and hopefully get more in detail than we can in like a 3 to 5 minute video.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that'll be helpful as well. So we'll do a little bit of both, but I think a variety will help.
Yeah, I agree. And bear with us. We've never done this before, so we have faces for radio, but beyond that, we're not very good at it, so we're going to give it a shot. So let's go and get started. That was the intro on our list here. So let's talk about stimulus checks for a second, because that's a big topic. It's kind of a buzzword this year as the year is ending. In fact, as of right now, and of course, when this gets published, it may change completely, but as of right now, the president signed a bill that a stimulus package, and it has attached to it $600 stimulus checks, and it would be $1,200 for a couple and then $600 for dependents. But he came back and said, "Hey guys, I want you to move it up to $2,000 per person, $4,000 for couples, and I think still $600 for the dependents." And that did pass Congress, and that's at the Senate right now. I don't know the outcome of that, but we'll talk about $600, and then we'll also talk about the $2,000. Kind of some strategies to kind of get yourself ahead and financially to benefit from this, or maybe ways to spend it. Some people, they did spend it because they were able to, but I think a lot of people needed to save the last one and they didn't. So let's try to see what we can learn from that time, and then kind of move on and look for a brighter 2021 maybe. So, but yeah, so $600 is actually, it doesn't seem like a lot. There's a lot of controversy about that. I know there's going to be a lot of political thoughts as far as if the bill is a good idea or not. But either way, $600 at least is coming into our pockets, and then $1,200 if you're married and such like that. So $600 isn't something to laugh at. That is a starter emergency fund, and we talk about the emergency fund is basically like the platform for us financially. In fact, we got a video explaining emergency funds in more detail, if you want to check that out. But financially, an emergency fund is step one in our book. And then we'll say have a small emergency fund, and then go pay off your debts, and then build that emergency fund to about 3 to 6 months of expenses. So $600 could be your starter. I mean, $600 can fix your car. It can get you a new dishwasher, washing machine. Stuff like that. I know I've needed $600 before, so it's not something to laugh at. Of course, if we get $2,000, then that's almost a month or 2 months for some people, and that could really start your 3 to 6 months. But Will, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was thinking about it when you were talking about the amount, how for some it isn't a whole lot when you think that it's been a while since we kind of got that one earlier, the $1,200 stimulus check over the summer. So I think it also just reinforces the need for an emergency fund. So if you don't have one, if you could imagine, hopefully not, but if you were to lose your job and then have to go, trying to either find a new one, try to kind of just survive on what you have, just think that if you wouldn't have had anything that long of time and only getting $600 now, imagine going towards, monthly rent or monthly expenses. It's not going to be a lot to cover if you need it. So I think it's another just good reminder that you're kind of, need to be self-sufficient in this, and that you need to have your own emergency fund for when these things happen, that you could be prepared. Because if you were purely depending on a stimulus check to get you by, it's going to be tough to, it's been what, 6 months and you're getting $600. It's just not, it doesn't look like it's been enough to fully support you. So just kind of a plug for that. But I'd say, hey, if you, if it's this money, you really need it, then hopefully it comes soon. And so hopefully we can do some wise things with it. And then I'd say if you don't need it, Cody, you had a great blog post. I'll plug that really quick about when we got the first stimulus check, about what to do with that. So I'd say, I don't know if you're coming out with an update or if someone wants to check that out, but I think those things still apply. If you don't have any buffer between your income and expenses, I'd recommend setting that money aside. Don't spend it on things you don't need. I mean, if you're struggling to pay the bills, you need food, use that money. I mean, that's awesome. That's what it's for. And hopefully it can help you out. But if you're in a place where your job's pretty stable, you've been able to kind of stay on top of things throughout, I would just say set that money aside, because you never know what tomorrow may hold. And then also, another, thing is looking at maybe those that are less fortunate, because I know it's been very difficult for a lot of people. And so my wife and I are going to look at part of that, money if we get a check, and we've been, blessed that I've been able to keep my job through this. And so sure, it would be awesome to save an extra however much we get and just throw it into savings, but also want to think about those, that have been less fortunate than us. So giving is also going to be a big priority. So I'd say if you need it, hey, this money, it's awesome. Hopefully it's coming at a right time for you. So save it. But if not, look at what your goals are, but then take a portion of it and try to give to somebody. I think it'd be really helpful. But hey, I'll take 600 or 2,000. It's money I wasn't expecting. So I'll take a portion of it, but I also want to make sure I'm passing it along, because it's really to help those that really need it. So I want to make sure I'm passing along to those kinds of people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know the last stimulus check, I know some people that completely gave theirs away. And that to hear that was like, that's awesome. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that at the time. I had lost my job because of COVID. And so it actually came in at a good time, and we were able to save it, and we actually haven't used it. So it was actually a buffer for our emergency fund at the time. We had an emergency fund about 5 months, and then that boosted it up to that 6 months that I was really hoping to get to. We haven't had to touch it, thank the Lord. That's a blessing, but it's there in case we need it. But yeah, I know some people that just gave it away. The last one, I know some people that spent it, which there's no shame in that. If you're able to, because it is a stimulus check, it's supposed to stimulate the economy. That's kind of its purpose. So, no shame in that. But do think about if that's really a good financial decision. Maybe part of it, that's fine. But I saw some memes about, a $1,200 graphics card at the time.
Yeah.
And so I have a few of those kinds of friends as well. But yeah, I mean, I talked to a buddy of mine. He said that what he would do because I was asking, like, what are you going to do with the $600 if you get it? For him, it would actually be, I think it was $2,400, because it was him and his wife and 2 kids. And he said that's actually going into a separate savings account dedicated for medical emergencies that he knows is coming up. Some expenses that were coming up for, I think it was medicine and a small surgery or something like that. And I asked him, I was like, are you going to put that in an HSA? And he actually said he wasn't, because he thought that since the stimulus check isn't taxed, then it wouldn't make sense to put post-tax earnings inside an HSA, because it's a tax benefit for pre-taxed contributions. If there was growth in that, I would say still put it in an HSA if you want to. That would benefit for him. I don't think he has any growth in his account. So, but that's what he was doing with it. Some other people, they did start their first mini emergency fund before paying off debt. So there's a lot of good stuff from the last one. But for $600, if that's what you're getting, if you're just single, 600 can help you. It can be a buffer, especially if you're paying off debt. And that's one of the first things that we tell people is to have a small buffer, because that small buffer, the first emergency fund, is actually like a line of credit to yourself, because that's what back in the 80s when the credit card was, or maybe the 70s, I don't really know, but when the credit card was created, it was said this is for emergencies, and you got $1,000, $2,000 credit limit on it, and they're like, this is for emergencies. Well, advertising has changed, and there's bonuses and points and miles and all this stuff, and now people want to use it all the time. So think of it as a line of credit to yourself. Now you have a $600 line of credit, and you can use that when emergency arises, only for emergencies. And now you can start paying off, say, the credit card payments, anything like that, to get that out of the way, because we want to free up that income. We want that risk away, because unfortunately, if you do lose your job, if something happens, a large emergency comes up, those debts are still there. And there is some debt forgiveness. There were some laws passed about that. I don't think some people could move up their mortgage time, some due dates on some things. Some banks were nice about when credit cards were due, but at the end of the day, it's still due. And I know a lot of people that said that it would have been nice during the last quarantine if there was no debt, because there wasn't as much coming out, and they could keep the income, or they could keep their emergency fund. So, but yeah. That's what I've heard, Will. I don't know if you've know anybody
and I was going to say, you just helped me think of something. I was also thinking, if you're in the situation, hey, you're recently out of college or out of school, and maybe, if you're lucky, you've got an emergency fund already set up, if you've got a stable job, so you haven't had to worry about that. I would strongly look at those student loans, because I know they got the interest forbearance, or at least the delay period that they have. That's not forbearance, but because that could be a good way to get ahead pretty quick. So if you don't have any other things, you're meeting kind of your other goals or targets, I would look at putting some towards kind of paying off those student loans. Every situation will be a little bit different, but I think that this could be a good time to really get ahead, on those. So throwing a little extra money, I think, could really have a big compounding effect, later on, when you can have stuff that goes straight towards principal right now, rather than paying on just interest. So just want to plug that in there as well. If you're looking at that, with your check, but I would say, emergency fund's a great first place to go, just to make sure, because you don't want to make the situation worse, if something bad does happen. So if you need it, use it. If you don't need it, I'd look at putting it towards emergency fund. If you've got that, then I'd say, what's your next financial goal? If you're trying to invest a bunch, invest it. If you're trying to, pay off debt, I'd, put some towards that. And then I put a little portion towards just giving to others, as well. So,
yeah, I like that. Because there's a lot of people that are not as fortunate as those that have a job, been able to work through this. And there still is unemployment. I know that they are, I don't know if it's happening right now, but they're passing an extension on the unemployment benefits that happened in the past. I don't think it's as much. I don't think it's a $600. I think it's just $300. So depending on what state you're in, that could change, but that's still in effect. So that's good for people that lost their jobs, still looking. But yeah, man, the student loans, that's a big kicker. I know a lot of people that are almost 40, 50 years old, and they still have student loans. And that's building that, this interest is working against them. So if you can attack it early, you don't have that interest fighting you as much. And, it may not seem like a lot, but $600 looks a lot different in 30 years if there's interest attached. So if you can put $600 towards any form of debt, any of it, that's going to help you tremendously. And if you're out of debt, consider putting that money towards other savings goals. That's what I'm going to be doing, is putting it towards, we're still trying to save for a down payment on a house. So that's going to go to that fund. And I also am going to consider trying to give some of it away as well. So that's kind of, that's what my goal is. And then, if you want to maybe put an extra little bit on your house, put down another not down payment, but do another month's payment put that towards it. That's going to help you. It's one more month that, closer to owning your house. And then of course, if you do want to spend it, it is your money. We can't tell you what to do, but we would recommend giving it, because there's a lot of people that's not fortunate right now and really could use that.
Yeah. I'd say another option too, if you're looking at, if you have a Roth IRA, looking at how close you are to maxing that thing out to the contribution limit. So if I think it's around 6,000 right now per year that you can put towards that. So if you're under that, I would look at, you've got other things taken care of, trying to get to that limit, if you can. So that may be something I look at, as if I've got some other goals that are taken care of. I may look at, if I haven't maxed that out yet, I might look at it doing that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Cause like I said,
powerful, as you said.
You got $600 that's working, if you got interest attached, it's working against you. It could also be working for you.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
In fact, now you might have changed my mind on what I'm going to do. So
I'd look at that. If you haven't maxed it out yet, or if you have other, accounts that you normally invest in, I would look at those as well. Because as you said, I mean, even it may only be $600, but that in 30 years or less, 10 years could be a whole lot bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so also a plug for my most recent blog post that I put together. If you want a little more info, if you're like, what in the world are you talking about? Roth IRA? I have no idea. Check that out. Hopefully it's helpful. I try to take a little bit different style with this, with that blog post. A little more informal. It's kind of, hopefully it reads just like me talking. And I think that's kind of how I planned it. So take a look at it. I just walk through a lot of the different retirement accounts that will be available to most of us. So, and then going over just common questions. So like, what in the world even is a 401k or a Roth IRA, or what's an employer match? Like, what do those terms mean? How does that affect me? And hopefully it's in an easy enough way to understand, because a lot of times, and I think you even say it in there, that the financial industry is complicated for the sake of, making themselves sound smart. And so we take simple concepts and put weird names on it. And so that way you have to, have someone else tell you what to do rather than you knowing what in the world they're talking about. So hopefully it helps you kind of understand those. And I walk through kind of my priority list on where I put money. So if I have a goal of investing 15% towards retirement, here's the retirement accounts that I look at and I personally use to distribute that. So I've heard it's helped some, just like explain it a little bit better if they're already using it, just to understand where their money's going. So I put a little bit of time into that. So hopefully people will check out that blog post as well. So I'd say your first stimulus check one. And then if they're looking at investing in retirement, just reading that most recent one that I came out with,
I'm actually looking at it right now. It's the title's "What Are Retirement Accounts and Which One Should I Use?"
I'm not good at coming up with titles, so that is my long title.
It's very simple. It just goes through like, what is a 401k? What does Roth mean? What is employer match? What is tax deferred versus tax free? That's very important. If anybody doesn't understand that, please look at it. By the way, our blog is on www.willandcody.com. So please go there if you want to find it. You talk about employer match, and then what account is best, and of course that's just our opinion. There's a lot of opinions out there about what's the best, but I think our opinion is correct. So take a look at that.
And I put that in there that it is a lot based on personal situation, and so I think sometimes we think everything's very cookie cutter and everyone has to do it the exact same way. And so I'm saying this is what I would highly suggest, because this is, at least for me, this looks like it's the best, but don't take it as this is the one size, fits all, approach that you have to do. But what I kind of walk through in that is, if I'm looking at 15% of my income and I want to invest it, I first want to look at if my employer offers a match, because for me, that's free money that they're saying, hey, I'll give you this if you invest it, in your 401k. And so I like free money. I'll take it. So I invest up to that employer match. So mine, it's 5%. So I invest up to that of my income in my 401k. And then I'll look at a Roth IRA because I don't really need too many tax benefits, right? Benefits right now. I prefer them later on the growth. And so read the article for a little more explanation on, what all that means as far as tax deferred versus tax free. And hopefully that'll help you. And then the next place I go, if I max out my Roth, as I said, you can put $6,000 right now per year into that. So if I've matched that, then I go either back to the 401k, or I'll go to just a traditional IRA for that. And so it may be different if you're in a really high tax bracket and you're really close to retirement. It may be better to go with the traditional route. You may just want to look at some numbers on that. But for me, the tax benefits later on are, pretty large compared to just some small tax breaks for me now. So at least that's the benefit that I like. Right. So that's kind of the ranking I think I gave in the blog post.
Yeah. Yep.
But check it out, read it, and then let me know if you have any questions to anybody out there that reads it. So if you're like, you did not phrase this well, I have no idea what you're talking about, let me know. And I hopefully can explain it better to you individually. So yeah, just let me know if you take a look at it and have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. And I hope it's helpful.
Yeah. You can actually comment on the blog if you have any questions. You can also just email us directly. We have a form you can fill out on our website. Again, www.willandcody.com. And you can also go on Facebook. You can direct message us. We've got Instagram. We got Twitter. I think we got TikTok. We've got Instagram. We've got basically everything. I think we have Pinterest. I don't know how to use it, so my wife does that. But so yeah, ask us questions. That's kind of the goal. In fact, I think our hashtag on Twitter. I don't. You do Twitter. I don't do Twitter, but I think it's Ask Will and Cody. Is that it?
It's hashtag Ask Will and Cody. Nice. So you can do that or message us through anything.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here. I mean, we would give you our phone number, but please go through the social media. It'd be easier for us. But yeah, you can also subscribe. Yeah, I'll put it on the website.
All right.
But yeah, you can also subscribe on our website, and anytime we do a new blog post, you'll see it. We do a blog post. I say every 1 or 2 a month. We really try to put a lot of time into it. That's why it's not as consistent as most bloggers. We're not really bloggers. We're just kind of people that are just giving out information. So we kind of take our time with it. I think if depending on how the next week or two goes, with how the stimulus check goes. Once there's a confirmed amount and everything, I probably will update or do a new blog post about the stimulus check. Blog post, I might just do an update or say 2.0 on it. That way you guys can take a look and get an updated understanding of, kind of some options for you of what to do that makes good financial sense. So yeah, check it out and follow us, please.
Yeah. If you like it, let us know. And if you're like, hey, I didn't like this, then let us know.
Yes, please let us know. Feedback is good. That's all we want is feedback. Like negative is fine.
Is anyone out there?
That's how it feels when it first started off. We did we just made I think it was the Facebook accounts, first one we made. And I think we got up to 50 followers. We were stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of small. We're growing. So please share, let people know. It's free information. What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
There's no price tag attached to this yet. I'm kidding.
No, there won't be.
Yeah, there won't be. That's the goal. Well, hey, while we're talking about our goal, let's talk about kind of why we do this and our goals for this. We can kind of wrap it up with that. Because we're actually nearing 26 minutes. Man, time flies.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about just kind of our backgrounds, kind of why we're qualified. I mean, we've said why we do this, but maybe we should say why we think we're qualified to do this. And we're young guys. We're just kind of figuring this out as we go, but we're sharing it as we do it. We've got a lot of friends and family members that have gone through a lot of ups and downs financially. We know some people that are very successful. We know some people that, wish they'd done differently. And we've just kind of absorbed that, learned it through, multiple sources. So that's what this is. It's just everything we've learned and what we're learning is all into, kind of into one. So that's the goal. And that's the kind of, I'm just going to keep rambling. So you go ahead.
No, that's good. So I'd say as far as, qualifications, we are young, younger guys. And so I know it can be, easy to be like, why should I listen to them? So I think you make a good point is like, it's not necessarily about just all the knowledge that's, in our head, but also just stuff that we've heard. Cody and I are good listeners. And so we've been able to listen to a lot of really smart people, and people that are way smarter than us, and a lot better with money than we are. And so what we've kind of learned is that, it's really easy for us to share that information and for us to learn. And as we're learning, to share with everyone else. And it can be an easy way to kind of transmit this knowledge rather than having to maybe know us personally, or be able to see us all the time. It's like, oh, I wonder what they're learning now. And we're just, putting it out there so you can have it. So if we learn something new, hopefully it's a help to you as well. And so I think, that's a great benefit that we can provide is that, it's kind of a journey that we're going along. And so you can just learn from us and learn from our mistakes and learn from maybe things that we did right. And then also learn from the people that we're asking. Cody and I are pretty curious. So we're always asking those, hopefully asking good questions to those around us. The people that I said, smarter than us, have more experience than us. And so we can learn a lot, from that. I don't want to discount both of us. We work hard, and I think we're pretty knowledgeable, more than maybe, the everyday, person.
We try.
We try to be at least. And so, even just with our, degrees and stuff, like I studied finance, Cody studied mathematics, so even just with that, base, and then we've done a lot of different internships. I work as a financial consultant now for an insurance company. So I do a lot of different either accounting or analysis or, administration stuff. And so I get a lot of experience just with numbers and the whole finance world, knowing the corporate side plus the personal side, I get that experience as well. And then, as I said, a lot of business leaders that I've been fortunate enough to know or to talk with, doing internships with them and stuff like that. So it's kind of a culmination of what's in my head, plus, the stuff I get from a lot of other people. And so I think that, Cody, you'd probably say something similar, but, it's a little bit of us and then a little bit of just, we're trying to learn as much as we can. And so we're sharing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a little bit of us. It's a little bit of what we're learning, and it's a little bit of what we've already learned. And so, we'll have like, a kind of a quote or a phrase that we'll reference, or a system or a process or something. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, we've actually learned that from somebody else, that we've studied under, or that we just look up to, somebody that's taken us under their wing. But then a little bit of it is us just figuring things out, experience. We don't have a ton, but we do have some. William in the finance world, working as a financial analyst, correct?
Consultant, but pretty similar.
Okay. Same thing. It has financial in it, thus he's qualified.
Yeah, that's all.
Me, not so much. I studied mathematics from Georgia Tech, so go Jackets.
Nice.
And I lost my train of thought. I studied mathematics from Georgia Tech, and I finally, at the end of my degree, decided, you know what, I want to go in business. I like business, but I was so close to ending my degree. I was just like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and get it done. So, but we took some internships. We did a government one for the governor's office of youth, faith, and family for the state of Arizona. We did that one together. And then we did one for Solid Rock Financial Planning at the same time. So we did one in the morning for the government, the one in the afternoon where it's for the financial planning. camera moved. And then we did, and then we also had your dad and a couple of other people kind of take us under their wing and just teach us a couple of things as we were out there in Phoenix, as we were doing those 2 internships. So not only did we learn something, we also went home, or William's home, and then we would say, hey, what does this mean? And then your dad, or he would be on a Zoom call with somebody, and then we could talk about it. We could understand it on a higher level than originally. So yeah, that was awesome. That's kind of what inspired us, I'd say, especially that internship at Solid Rock Financial. That really opened up our eyes about the finance world and kind of changed our path and direction. But after that, I did a couple of other small internships, and then worked in small business. I've helped an HVAC company as their office manager. But then I helped a startup in film finance. So I studied, or kind of studied film finance, kind of figuring it out, and then helping them with like investor relationships and things like that. But unfortunately, that one didn't work out because of COVID. And then now I'm in business with my dad. I've taken his business and kind of taken it to another level, and we've already doubled in size and hired a couple of people, or one guy and a contractor, and some other stuff. So in my world is more the small business and the personal finance, and then William's going to know personal finance and more corporate finance, I would say. But yeah, so that's kind of what we know as far as experience. And then we read books all the time.
Yep. And
we're always constantly having conversations between us and other people about, just what would you do in this situation? We've studied heavily people like Dave Ramsey, Larry Burkett. We've studied, I forgot the other guy, Rich Dad. Ron Bloom.
Robert Kiyosaki is another good one.
Yeah. Robert. I remember watching Susie Orman. I've read one of her books. My parents would watch that. It's like, if you can afford it, you should yell at them if they didn't make more than $3,000 a month.
Yeah, and then your parents would also watch. What's the other one? Howard. What's his name?
Clark Howard.
Howard. They would watch. I remember them watching that all the time.
Yeah, he's like a legend in Atlanta. Most people probably won't know about him, but if you're in Atlanta, you've heard of him. I've read one or two of his books. He's pretty good. But yeah, all those people, every one of them, we have something we agree with, and then every one of them we have something we disagree with. That's just kind of how it works. So yeah, you'll hear us talk about maybe reference some books that we've read, or we may even do a book review or something. So that's kind of what we do, and then we'll do YouTube videos and stuff like this, financial podcasts and things like that. So that's kind of, I guess we could say, why we're qualified. We just have a lot of information, and we're just trying to share it.
Yeah, and we kind of live it too. I think that's also a big thing, is that we're living. And
that's something we're going to try to share more. Is how we live it. Yeah.
And so I think, it helps. We know from personal experience as well. We're not just like saying this and then, not doing anything. We're actually, trying to live out what we preach. So I think that's one area that helps. So, we're not we're not really far along in this process, I'll say. I know we're still kind of going down it, but we have seen some, successes. And so we can kind of document that. And hopefully still be relatable enough, not just to tell you what to do and we're already way past it. It's like, the things that we're saying are still the things that we're still doing. We're not, that guy sitting, in his recliner already, done everything, and he's just, yelling at you, telling what to do.
Yeah.
But we're here with you. We're trying to do the same things, and we're hopefully be an encouragement along the way, and then help you, get on this path as well.
That's one of the reasons we did this. Was we noticed a lot of the finance gurus, all the people out there giving advice, they were all rich, and it's kind of hard to, sometimes you listen to somebody, it's like, well, you don't really understand. They might have, but even if they're explaining, it's like, they've got, a couple $1 million in the bank. It's like, can you really, some people, it's like, you can't really relate to us. And so what we're trying to do is practice what we preach and then show you it and document it. And you can see the progression in us. And then when we make a mistake, we'll let you know it was a mistake and how we're going to change our path, change our course. So we're trying to do a different approach in this. Instead of being the one that was succeeded and then told you about it, we'd like to be the one that showed you how we succeeded, our goal or our pathway to success. So I think it'll be a unique take, and I think people will enjoy that.
Yeah, and I think also too, and we're following a pattern of those that have succeeded in the past. So I want to put that caveat out there. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here and coming up with a lot of our our own new theories, and we're gonna test it out. And we have no idea how it's gonna work. But no, we're looking at the pattern that there's a set of, you do these things consistently, you will be able to see these results. And so we're taking that solid foundation that we know will work, and then we're showing you kind of the beginning stages of what it looks like, and hopefully be able to show you, the whole journey.
Yeah, because that's the one thing, is like they don't show you as much as the ups and downs. There are, the kind of the system that we have, the system that we're following. There's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be times where you do lose your job or you do have a struggle, but you'll have that emergency fund there. And you may think like, oh, I'm not going to be successful now because I messed up, or things didn't happen in my life. But actually, you're on the right path because that was a safe. There was a nest egg or an emergency fund that would help prevent that. It was there for a reason. So those are also the kinds of things we want to show and help you understand. Is like, we're in this together, and something bad does happen. Kind of that support to, hey, trust the system, trust the path. It will work out. And that's one of the reasons why Will and I, we've always talked so much, and we're just trying to, we're kind of like reassuring each other. It's like, hey, this cruddy thing happened, but it's going to be okay because we did this,
Yeah.
And so that's nice. But yeah, the people we've studied are successful 100%. And the things that we take is, and put and apply to our lives is what all of them consistently did, or, the most of them. And every once in a while you get somebody with a theory that we just don't quite agree on because, it doesn't match exactly what everybody else did. We'll talk about stuff like that. But yeah, the pathway that we've chosen to follow, it is worked for a lot of people. And we're just trying to kind of documenting how it's working for us.
Yeah. And I do want to put a caveat in there. There are a lot of other people that have been successful, and they preach that one way that they were able to, to kind of be successful. And so what I always think of, like, yeah, it worked for them, but will it work for me? That's always what I'm worried about. Congrats if it worked for you, but can it work for anybody else, or everybody else? And so that's, kind of why we've decided on, kind of the principles that we believe on, is because we believe anybody can do this, that it can work for everyone. It's not going to be just some one hit, wonder, congrats, you got it, but everyone else, didn't make it. Or maybe 1 out of every 100 makes it. But this is something that if you apply these things that we're sharing, we know, if you do it in the long run, keep consistent with it, it will be successful.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the key for us, rather than finding that one get rich quick thing that actually works. We want it, we want it to be able to work for everyone, and find, something that could be applicable to everyone, not just a few.
And when we say success, I don't want people thinking like multimillionaires, super duper uber successful, I'm going to drive a Lamborghini in 20 years. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about financial independence, where you don't have to worry about money anymore. And you've got, things in place to help protect you from a financial disaster, and and offsetting risks, not having a lot of debt, things like that. So that's what we talk about when we say being successful. It's being able to one day, live our dream, be able to retire, be able to go out and take a trip with our family without having to worry about breaking the bank. That's what we're talking about. So a lot of those people you'll see on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, talk about their 5 Lamborghinis, and all you got to do is real estate. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a plan that works. May not be the easiest, but it does work. And it works for just about every single person we've talked to and studied. And so that's why every book we've read, the people that were successful, we've read some where they were successful and it was a plan that was completely different. And we found that it did not work for a lot of people. And we'll study it, we'll look at it, but we'll kind of put that aside because we want the plan that works all the time. That's what we want. And I think that's what we found. And so that's what we'll be sharing, hopefully, on this podcast.
Yeah. And I agree. You got to define what success, actually means. Is it to be a billionaire or whatever? Or is it, just to live comfortably, or, what is it? So, I think it may be different for everybody, but I think financial independence, retirement's one, but also just imagine if you still were working, but it didn't matter how much it paid because you'd be good either way. That'd be awesome. If you wanted to work, you could. If you didn't want to work, you could, didn't have to. But you weren't trying to make payments. You didn't have to worry about that. You had an emergency fund in place. You don't got a bunch of bills you got to take care of. It basically gives you control. And so we want to take control, away from everything else and give it to you. And so I think that's really where you could see a big impact in your life. And as you said, you don't have to worry about money anymore. Doesn't have to be as big of a consideration as far as like, if you want to take that trip, hey, it's just down to schedule, not necessarily that, how we're going to pay for it, or, am I worried about this job? Well, does it pay enough? It's like, you could just worry about if you actually like the job.
Yeah.
And so giving you that control and that freedom is huge. And so hopefully we can help you, along that journey.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up just a second. Again, visit us on our website, www.willandcody.com. Follow us on every bit of social media. We've got it all. Just look at Will and Cody or at Ask Will and Cody. And please ask us questions. If we don't know the answer, we will go find out. Like I said, we know a lot of people that have gone through a lot more than we have. And so we can go ask them. We hope to even interview some of them, let you guys kind of see them and hear their story. Ask us questions. Maybe one of these days we'll go live and ask them live. But until I have the technology to do so, we're going to do this way. But yeah, we're going to give this podcast a shot. Hopefully we'll do it a little bit more. Maybe we'll get on a kind of a schedule, but for right now we're just kind of testing the waters here, seeing how this goes, seeing if we can get it on some other platforms so people can get some access to it. But Will, you got any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, it was good. Again, I want to reaffirm feedback is good. So if you have any positive or negative, feedback, let us know. And then, again, questions. If you have anything we can do for you, please let us know. Any questions we can answer. We're just real people. So if you have anything, you're like, hey, can you walk me through something? Can you explain this again? We'll love to. So any interaction that you have with us, feel free to reach out. We're here for that.
Yeah, anything. We had somebody ask me the other day, hey, can you just look at my budget for me and kind of tell me what's good and bad about it? So, don't be afraid. There's no such thing as a stupid question, especially in the finance world. As William's already said, things get complicated because of crazy lingo. Financial people want you to think they're smart, and so they create crazy lingo and systems and processes that are a little overcomplicated. So if you have a question, we'll help you decipher those, kind of give it to you in a quick little email or something like that, and just kind of explain it for you guys. So, well, I think that wraps it up. That's episode 1 of the, I guess we'll call it the Will and Cody Show. If I don't title it that way, I'm sorry, but that's what we're going with right now. And so we'll check you guys next time. We appreciate you listening.
Yeah.